KIMT News 3, coverage you can count on. This is KIMT News 3 at 5.
A development company that is suing the city of Mason City has now placed a bid to be the top developer of the River City Renaissance project. We'll have that story coming up in a full report.
After a little over a year on the job, Mason City's fire chief is resigning. We'll take a look at what led up to that decision. First tonight, only 2 weeks after Mason City residents voted in favor of 2 ballot measures to move the River City Renaissance project forward, a bombshell was dropped on the city council. G8 Development has now entered a competitive bid. In August, the company filed a lawsuit against both the city and the Chamber of Commerce on the grounds of a breach of contract. KIMT News 3's Brian Tappick is speaking with the Mason City Says Yes campaign about their thoughts on the latest development. He joins us now live. Brian?
Yeah, Amy, I spoke to the chair of that group who says that she was shocked when she found out that G8 Development had laid down a competitive bid late afternoon yesterday. Now, the group was in the meeting last night, eager to hear the details of the agreement between the city and the developers, Gatehouse Capital. Even after all of the work the group has put into getting the project past the vote, they say it is now in the hands of the council to make the best decision for the city.
I trust that the city council will do what's in the best interest for our city and get us the best project out of the situation.
City staff will be going through a 3-hour negotiation process on Monday where both developers will be called and they will have a chance to negotiate their proposals. Live in Mason City, Brian Tappick, KIMT News 3.
Thank you, Brian. Coming up tonight on KIMT News 3 at 6, we are digging into the differences between the 2 developers' proposals. City officials are confirming Mason City Fire Chief Al Dyer has resigned. Interim City Administrator Kevin Jacobson says Dyer turned in a resignation letter but would not comment on why the chief decided to leave his position. Earlier this month, Dyer was placed on administrative leave pending an investigation. No other details about his leave were released. Law enforcement is once again asking the public to help track down a man who's been wanted for a month. In October, the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office said Luke Hoddle had been involved in a chase with deputies along Highway 14 in Rochester. Deputies called off the pursuit to ensure the public's safety. Now a month has passed and he has still not been caught. He's wanted for a number of charges, including multiple counts of assault and felony terroristic threats. A $1,000 reward is being offered for information that leads to his arrest. Police say a man was arrested after trying to hire a prostitute. Rochester's Criminal Interdiction Unit took 24-year-old Channing Tipton into custody. They say he responded to an ad on Backpage.com offering to pay money in exchange for a sex act. He was booked into the Olmsted County Adult Detention Center, but has now been released. This comes one day after authorities announced a woman had been taken into custody who was believed to be a victim of sex trafficking. Police say an ad for her was also found on Backpage.com. All week, communities have been coming together to make sure neighbors are being taken care of. Today, Community Kitchen of North Iowa in Mason City is serving up its annual Thanksgiving meal. KIMT News 3's Emily Boster is live in Mason City with why a meal like this is so important to those in need.
Community Kitchen is a place where many can go to get a hot meal or just to socialize. And today they served up what many would call a Thanksgiving tradition. And from what I could see, many of the tables were filled. Rex Colling comes to Community Kitchen every day.
Oh, this is such a blessing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Colling says his wife passed away a few years ago, and he says cooking isn't his expertise, so he visits the kitchen to get a healthy meal.
It's a relief, a place to relax and have a good meal.
And from what it looks like, he's not alone. The director of Community Kitchen says all year they've seen this place fill up more than usual.
I like helping people, so I'm about to say every year.
Dornell Hatch is representing his workplace on this day. He's volunteered for the past 8 years.
I feel like it's always good to help somebody else because you never know when you're going to need help one day.
Hatch says he knows what it's like to struggle finding work, so going to places like this may be a highlight of the day.
I'm working at Cargill for almost 8 years now, and before that I was working 2 jobs. And I say when I got a good job, I wasn't going to leave it, period.
For Colleen, while this turkey is a highlight, his many blessings trump it all.
God's blessing, the generosity of our Lord, the blessing that this community gives.
Albert Lee's Salvation Army is serving up their Thanksgiving meal starting right now at 5 until 7 o'clock. They're expected to feed nearly 400 people tonight. I talked to those here at Community Kitchen, and they ended up serving 250. Live in Mason City, Emily Boster, KIMT News 3.
Thank you, Emily. Albert Lee's Salvation Army meal is being held at the Fair Lane building at the Freeborn County Fairgrounds. Again, that goes until 7 tonight.
We couldn't have got any better weather across our area just in time for Thanksgiving. And as we head toward Thanksgiving, things look to remain very nice. Right now, our live eye in the sky will show you over Mason City that we still have those clouds in the sky, but we're being treated to a nice sunset. And those clouds are actually going to be departing as we go through the rest of tonight. As you see on Storm Tracker Doppler radar, those clouds still intact and even a few flurries over parts of the area, but a lot of that not even reaching the ground as things are remaining fairly dry. Our current temperatures outside, all of us, just about all of us, in the low 30s. Rochester and Preston are the exceptions, right now in the upper 20s. Here is your evening planner. We have the cloud cover, but temperatures not really changing a whole lot these next few hours, staying right in that upper 20s to around 30-degree range. Sunshine on the way back for Thanksgiving. I'll let you know if it sticks around for the entire 4-day weekend for many in just a few minutes.
Thank you very much, Tyler. One airport in our area is trying to get you to fly local this holiday season. KIMT News 3's Annalisa Pardo tells us why this may be the best option, especially around this time of year. She joins us now live. Annalisa?
The Rochester International Airport is seeing an increase in travelers each month, with October seeing a 66% increase from just October of 2016. More people flying local helps the airport recruit more airlines. The airport is under construction, expanding, adding bathrooms, and keeping check-in on one side and baggage claim on the other. The airport says cost and travel times are important when deciding where to take off from, but you should also consider stress. While other airlines have longer lines due to holiday travel, Rochester is unique.
We see a lot of business travelers, and business travel tends to slow down a little bit over the holiday periods. And so with the increase that we have for those traveling for holidays and leisure, but with a little bit less business travel, it tends to be just kind of a typical day for us here at the airport.
One reason for the increase in travelers this year is the addition of United Airlines and more flight options from Delta Airlines. Live in Rochester, Annalisa Pardo, KIMT News 3.
Thank you very much, Annalisa. In August, RST also added a pet therapy program to make traveling less stressful. Well, the night before Thanksgiving tends to be one of the biggest drinking days of the year, earning it the nickname Blackout Wednesday. That's because bars and restaurants see a higher volume of patrons from folks who don't have to work tomorrow or college students who are home for the holiday weekend. KIMT News 3's Dee Dee Steepen joins us live in Rochester with more on how this night can also be a dangerous one. Dee Dee?
Amy, you could say it's the calm before the storm. In just a few hours, bars and restaurants like these ones behind me are expected to be packed with people. A recent survey found that on Blackout Wednesday, beer sales jump more than 270%, and liquor sales double compared to a typical weekday. But this popular party night can take a dangerous turn, which is why law enforcement agencies across our area are prepared to respond to what tends to be a busy night for them.
Historically, we've had some pretty significant cases that have occurred the day before Thanksgiving, including homicides, significant assaults, fights, and other things of that nature.
Rochester police will have extra officers downtown tonight, and agencies across our area plan to step up DWI enforcement as well. Reporting live in Rochester, Dee Dee Steepen, KIMT News 3.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Nationwide, no holiday has had more deadly crashes than the 4-day Thanksgiving weekend. Today, Rochester Mayor Ardell Brady declared Friday to be Indigenous Peoples Day. People listen to drumming and songs to honor Native Americans. Sierra Paskey is half Native American and is a student at the University of Minnesota Morris, and says she feels included as a Native American there, but says that wasn't always the case growing up in Rochester.
Invisible is how I would describe it. I haven't felt that me as a Native American, even only half Native, I haven't been represented enough in the city.
Paskey says the biggest misconception about Native Americans is that they are part of history and not part of today's modern society. Rochester's Indigenous Peoples Day officially takes place Friday, but was celebrated today to encourage more people to come out for the festivities. Thanksgiving is a holiday that is centered around a big meal, but dietitians say there are a lot of ways to make your turkey dinner healthier without sacrificing taste. Some tips up next.
You're watching KIMT News 3 at 5. KIMT News 3, coverage you can count on.
With Thanksgiving only a day away, Americans are gearing up for a big holiday meal. On average, you could take in more than 4,500 calories and 200 grams of fat. But dietitians say there are healthier ways to celebrate the holiday. Hannah Doba explains.
Like many of us, Eileen Butler is looking forward to family, friends, and food on Thanksgiving.
I like the stuffing, even though it's so fattening and so bad. But it's the one time of year I say, okay, let's have a little.
The turkey and all the trimmings can be loaded with calories and fat. But Cleveland Clinic registered dietitian Lindsay Malone says there are ways to make the holiday healthier.
One of the best things you can do is try and load up your plate with non-starchy vegetables like green beans, carrots, salads, roasted Brussels sprouts, and make sure you have a lot of color.
Make your favorite dishes more nutritious. Sweet potatoes instead of white potatoes, roasted vegetables instead of casseroles, use healthier fats like olive oil instead of whole cream, and use spices for sugar.
If you're used to the typical candied yams, perhaps you can bake your yams with some cinnamon and nutmeg and olive oil rather than the marshmallows and brown sugar. For your gravy, skipping the flour and the butter, which is going to save you some time, but it's also going to save you some calories.
Because it takes time for your stomach to tell the brain you're full, eat slowly, chew your food well, so you get to satisfied, not stuffed. Hannah Doba, CBS News, New York.
When it comes to cutting calories in your holiday desserts, you can substitute applesauce or other pureed fruits instead of adding butter or cream. That will give the dish added moisture and sweetness without adding any extra fat.
We have a few of those clouds still intact right now, but overall not too bad of a night. Here's a live look over Rochester this evening. We're going to be in for a very nice Thanksgiving, and I'll let you know how nice it will be in your Storm Team 3 forecast.
We track storms to alert you first. This is KIMT Storm Team 3, weather coverage you can count on.
Here's our live eye in the sky over Charles City. Many people getting ready for the big holiday tomorrow, and certainly we have good weather to head into that holiday with. Of course, I know some people want it to be a little bit warmer, and it will be a little warmer for Thanksgiving Day, but no snowstorms to have to worry about. On Storm Tracker Doppler radar, though, we do see a few flurries, for instance, like around Preston, but much of this activity has been encountering quite a bit of dry air, so therefore a lot of that not even reaching the ground. Overall, conditions outside are pretty pleasant, and to talk a little bit more about that, I'm going to send things out to meteorologist Sarah Knox. Sarah, the good news is that wind not as strong as it was yesterday, and hey, no snow on the ground.
Oh, absolutely right, Tyler. In fact, it may be cold out here, but it definitely doesn't feel as miserable as yesterday with those winds coming strong from the northwest. They have shifted. Now they're coming from the south. And as Tyler mentioned, we are in for a bit of a warm-up as we head on into the holiday tomorrow. And also keeping with that dry air, things are looking very nice as we head on into Thanksgiving. We're going to be seeing plenty of sunshine, and that's great if you also are heading out tonight or tomorrow morning to travel. So far, I haven't seen really much traffic in the line of just taking a look around Rochester, but do keep in mind there may be a few backups here or there, but otherwise things looking a-okay, especially when we're talking weather and those road conditions. Going to send things back to you in the nice warm studio now, Tyler. Live in Rochester, I'm meteorologist Sarah Knox with KIMT News 3.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Easygoing traveling, as you mentioned, and temperatures not extremely cold by any means. Right now, we're in the low 30s just about everywhere, although Rochester and Preston still hanging on to the upper 20s. Wind helping keep things on the mild side. It's out of the southwest and not as strong as what it was yesterday. But the fact that we still do have that wind, it is giving us wind chills in the teens from Austin through Rochester and even in Preston, although in North Iowa only feels like the low 20s. Wind, not much of an issue for tonight. It will remain around 10 to 15 miles an hour over the next couple of hours, but it will decrease in speed around midnight and as we go into Thanksgiving morning. In your evening planner, you'll notice temperatures remaining pretty constant overall, ranging from the upper 20s to the low 30s. Satellite and radar cloud cover built back in during the late morning hours. It's still with us, but it is beginning to thin out, and that will continue for the remainder of this evening, and that will give way to some sunshine just in time for tomorrow. In addition to a warm up for Thanksgiving, we actually will be looking at those clouds staying away for a while, but they do return by late Friday night. It's that warm front that's going to help warm things up not only for Thanksgiving, but for Black Friday as well. You'll see on Skycast for tonight, those clouds will be exiting really around midnight. A lot of us will already be back to mostly clear conditions. Sunshine to start off our Thanksgiving morning, and it sticks around the entire day. Just a few clouds drift in by late tomorrow afternoon and into tomorrow evening, but overall staying quiet. Temperatures tonight will be in the upper 20s, not too cold, and then tomorrow we're in the low 40s for Thanksgiving, and tomorrow night, if anybody's heading out doing some shopping, not getting that cold. Really, temperatures just staying put in the mid 30s. Over the next 7 days, that weekend's always in view. For many, it's already here with it being the holiday. We'll be looking at temperatures in the low 40s tomorrow, 50s on Friday, but we do cool down on Saturday and Sunday again, only to warm up next week and then cool down all over again. But overall, easygoing traveling heading to Thanksgiving. Same story for coming home.
Good news.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tyler. The Iowa Department of Natural Resources is looking to get younger people involved with fishing during the annual trout dump in Mason City. The DNR dumped around 1,500 trout into Big Blue earlier today. You can see a lot of younger anglers were out trying to catch their first fish today. In order to fish for trout in Iowa, you must have your fishing license and pay an additional trout fee. You can pay that fee at any retailer that offers a fishing license. While on a Thanksgiving break in Florida, President Trump is firing shots on Twitter. That's just ahead. President Trump is staying at his Florida resort for Thanksgiving, but even though he's away from the White House, he's had a lot to say on Twitter in the last 24 hours. Mola Lenghi has the latest.
President Trump kicked off his day at Mar-a-Lago with a message for LeVar Ball, the father of LiAngelo Ball, one of the 3 UCLA basketball players detained for shoplifting in China. The president again credited himself with the team member's release, tweeting, "It was me," and calling LeVar just a poor man's version of Don King, but without the hair. In a second tweet, the president wrote, quote, "Shoplifting is not a little thing. It's a really big deal, especially in China. Ungrateful fool."
Okay.
The NFL and Commissioner Roger Goodell also drew the president's attention. He reacted to the idea of keeping players in the locker room during the national anthem, tweeting, "That's almost as bad as kneeling," telling Goodell, "The issue is killing your league."
In another tweet, the president said he'd be holding meetings and working the phones from the winter White House in Florida.
President Trump is expected to be calling lawmakers about getting tax overhaul legislation on his desk to sign before the end of the year. The House passed its bill. The full Senate takes up its version of the tax plan next week. Also next week, the president said he'll indicate whether he's campaigning for Republican Senate candidate Roy Moore ahead of a special election in Alabama.
I can tell you one thing for sure. We don't need a liberal person in there, a Democrat.
The president emphasized Moore's denials about sexual misconduct allegations as he left Washington Tuesday. Mola Lenghi, CBS News, the White House.
When we come back, we'll take a look at your weather forecast. Plus, we'll take another look at today's top headlines just ahead.
Here's a look at what's coming up tonight at 6. 2 development companies have turned in bids to take on Mason City's River City Renaissance project. We'll break down the specifics of both of those proposals. Plus, a gender-fluid student in our area says bullying at school continues even after reporting it to district officials. Those stories and much more when we see you back here at 6. Amy.
Thank you, Katie. If you're just joining us, here's what's happening. Only 2 weeks after Mason City residents voted in favor of 2 ballot measures to move the River City Renaissance project forward, a bombshell was dropped on the city council. Alongside Gatehouse Capital, G8 Development has now also entered a competitive bid to do construction for the project. In August, the company filed a lawsuit against both the city and the Chamber of Commerce on the grounds of a breach of contract. Mason City officials are confirming Fire Chief Al Dyer has resigned. Interim City Administrator Kevin Jacobson says Dyer turned in a resignation letter but would not comment on why the chief decided to leave his position. Earlier this month, Dyer was placed on administrative leave pending an investigation. No other details about his leave were released. And now here's Tyler to take a look at the forecast.
Thank you, Amy. We have some nice weather to look forward to on Thanksgiving. That sunshine will be back. Temperatures are even a little bit warmer, too. We'll have highs in the low 40s. Warming up some more on Friday, mid-50s. And it's really perfect shopping weather if anybody is getting out tomorrow night and into Friday morning, because it really won't be too terribly cold. Now, the weekend we do cool back down again, but we will stay sunny. So traveling to your Thanksgiving destinations and coming back home look very great. Really, no matter where you are in the Midwest, we're getting really lucky with high pressure in control. So good weather across the area.
Very nice. Thanks for joining us. We'll have more on KIMT News 3 at 6.